In this place, as we all know, is where the cube quest begins. To this NPC, you must say some key phrases to progress in the missions, which I will not cover in this video to keep it concise. A curious fact that happens here is that this NPC gives us a quite strange message when we say the word Planistrider. The odd thing is that this phrase is not necessary to advance in any known mission so far, and its meaning remains an enigma. Thus, I sought to give an answer to this mystery and ask myself, what does this strange message mean? As you can see, at first glance, the message seems a total mess with information that appears random and meaningless. So, I began to study in detail the clues available to see if I could find an answer. This led me to understand that one of the names of a character mentioned in that text, called Farls, belonged to the history of the Plaingazers. To understand this topic, the lore of this quest, in summary, deals with a secret society called Plaingazers, composed of men who investigated the boss known as Planistrider, and everything we do to advance in the missions on this quest unfolds around this plot. In this way, it became fundamental to create a timeline regarding the history of the Plaingazers to fully understand this message. This was a quite exhausting task, as there are many books written by the Plaingazers that are difficult to piece together to understand the entirety of the story. But they are our only source of information that leads us to understand what really happened to the Plaingazers before their total disappearance. Once I managed to organize the entire plot and truly understand what happened to this society, many things began to make sense, and many more paths opened up that could lead to new discoveries. But before going into those details, let me first explain what I think the message given by the NPC symbolizes. Let's say this NPC functions as a sort of futuristic machine that houses information, and upon accessing this information, links with more information inside appear. For that reason, when entering the word Planistrider as text, the chest gives you the information contained upon entering that password. In this way, each phrase that appears in brackets is a link that, when clicked, gives you the information contained in that link. This information was compiled by Farls, the character mentioned in the message. He was the last to manipulate such information, as related in the Chronicles of the Plaingazers. Thus, the first sentence of the text tells us that the last information stored in the chest was when the Plaingazers discovered the Planistrider, which they referred to as a thing, or an indeterminate creature. Then, the text tells us that everything they have discovered about the Planistrider has been done in the forges that the Plaingazers built in different cities which we visit at the time of doing the quest. These forges are also referred to as sites, where the Plaingazers conducted research about the Planistrider. For example, Site 14 belongs to the mines of Khazard-dûn, while Site 17 belongs to the sewers of Rathleton. Each piece of information gathered at each of these sites is stored in this message. Hence, it appears that information in some sites is restricted, while in others, there was no information up to that point. All this information appearing in the text was compiled at Site 6, which belongs to Fiahanja, and then duplicated in the chest by Farls, the character mentioned in the message. Finally, the message talks about 3 specimens, which were captured by the Plaingazers with the aim of studying them, as they knew that somehow these specimens were related to the Planistrider. These 3 specimens refer to the 3 creatures found at the main base of the Plaingazers: a Site of Surrender, a Yellowtax, and a Deepling. It is at this point when the real mystery begins, as each specimen mentioned is associated with specific messages composed of letters. These messages correspond to the encrypted messages in binary on the stones, but we only know one of them, which is isolated cradles. Therefore, this mysterious message delivered by the chest still contains unknown information to us. Also, each of these 3 specimens is directly related to the bosses found in this place. The Deepling is related to Obuhos, the Yellowtax is related to the Raging Mage, and the Site of Surrender with Mohawk. Is it possible to unlock more information about this? We know that upon completing the Cube Quest, we are given a monolith that delivers 4 different messages. 3 of these messages can be found by placing the monolith in your home, and it gives you binary code messages when the light of the monolith begins to blink. These messages are Galthan, Aerith, BSTH 4E. The meaning of these messages remains a complete mystery, although from my personal perspective, I think this message means, Galthan I love Bastesh forever, which could represent a specific site like Isavi or Fiahanja. Or simply are other keywords to unravel this mystery? Since the other phrase contained in this monolith is found on its walls and contains the word planistrider, the same phrase needed to said to the chest to deliver us this strange message. Coincidentally, the message that the chest gives us when saying the word planistrider contains 3 phrases whose meanings are unknown, but matches the number of phrases found on the monolith. Could be this messages the key to unveil this mystery?